Hello and welcome back to the new episode of Next Marketing with HJ as in me. This is the final episode of season 1. Today I have with me a very special guest, someone who has used the power of ideas to solve the biggest problems. I want to welcome Reilly, who is the Global Chief Creative Officer at WPP. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how creativity can solve biggest of the business problems, using the power of creativity to solve a business problem. I'm very excited to bring this final episode of season 1 to you. So today I have someone on board with whom I had the pleasure of working and really working closely, but we kind of admired each other's work for a long time. And probably today we got an opportunity to see each other after 6-7 years, probably.
Yeah, about.
So I'd like to welcome Reilly, who is like real big shot in the creative world. I would not like to introduce himself. I would like him to introduce himself.
That's nice of you to say. Yes, we did share some great times and made some great work together. My name is Reilly. I am the Global Chief Creative Officer of the WPP Corporation. And I've been here for about almost 2.5 years. And it's been a wild ride so far. I was previously at McCann as the Global Creative Chairman, and before that at an agency called Crispin Porter Bogusky, very, very well-known hot creative shop. And happy to be here. When I got the call from HJ, can you do my podcast? It's like talking to the Godfather. You can't say no. You have to do it. So happy to be here, my friend.
Thank you so much. Really privileged to have you here.
Yeah.
So funny. While I was coming this time to US, I was watching a Tollywood movie on the flight, and in that Tollywood movie, you would not believe I saw Fearless Girl.
Come on.
They had to have a statue to depict someone fearless, brave girl, right? And they made it like a fearless girl. Like, I was like so pleasantly surprised, right? It was just amazing. I'll send you the link.
What is the movie? Do you remember the name of the movie?
The name.
Oh, yeah. You have to send
25 hours to spend on the flight, so just killing time.
Yeah. Well, it was, I've talked a lot about Fearless Girl over the last, I don't know, whenever that was, 2005, 5 or so years, when Fearless Girl came out, and very proud. Still, the thing I'm probably most proud of being a part of, and there are many people who are a part of, similar to something like Immunity Charm that you spearheaded. Lots of people involved in these giant ideas that really change culture.
So from there, right, I think you have done like much more, so many more amazing works, right, that created popular culture, right? So how do this role of creating culture as part of brand communication?
Yeah, well, culture is it's a big thing. It's part of my entire process. It all starts with great briefs. If you don't have a great brief that is built on insights, and that's what things like AI are so good for, getting to insights quicker and finding insights quicker and getting to nuggets of ideas that we can turn into great creative ideas. But I always tell the creative teams, the way to think about concepting is, when the idea lands in culture, what's the story the press writes about? And that's an old Crispin Porter Bogusky tactic that we came up with. But now it's evolved in, what's the thing that people will love, share, and spread? And if you can't imagine that and write the tweet and write the headline, then it's probably not going to do much in culture. And so it's more about, how do you disrupt culture? And how do you have an idea that's so big that connects with people, some kind of emotion that people can't ignore, and then they want to share with their friends and family and coworkers, and the press wants to write about and keep talking about it. And that, with I think that's where AI is going to be a real challenge, because I think everybody's going to be able to put a lot of things out in the marketplace. So betting on creativity is the most important thing, because you still need people at the ad agencies who come up with the big ideas that break through in a sea of mediocrity, which I think AI will do many great things, but it's also going to allow so many companies to just put stuff out into the world. So how does a company really break through? Well, you need high level creative thinking.
I kind of see that as positive, right? I think it'll AI
Yeah.
help in pushing the boundaries of creative folks even further, right? Because basics, oh, AI can do. I am not doing that. I will focus on things which are greatest.
And I do think AI is a real great tool for creative people. As a tool, will be the ones who benefit the most. Because what's been sucked out of our business, HJ, is time and money for experimentation and failure. And AI allows us to get back to that a bit quickly, put in a prompt for an idea and maybe it sends you somewhere. Designers can explore looks very quickly versus taking a week to do things. And I do think it is an incredible tool for exploration and failure. And failure is such a part of creativity. You got to fail a lot. You got to experiment a lot to get to the perfect, idea that is so nuanced, that is based in culture and based in things that are happening in a region or a country that are unique to that country. So I do think it's going to get better and better. I don't think it's going to replace creative people. I think creative people who master AI are going to replace creative people who don't.
Yeah, so it's the same conversation is would AI replace a doctor, right? It won't, right? AI would just help a physician do his job better, right? Even for
Yes, yes.
before. So it would be the same with all
Yeah,
professions.
I think so.
Talking
I think you're
about
right.
disrupting culture, right? We hear about so many negative aspects of what AI will do, right? On the negative side, impacting people, impacting what they do, right? But there are so many positives it can do to
Yeah,
improve, right? What they do, how they do.
yeah.
It, this kind of
I
takes
agree.
me to like, see, changing behaviors is hardest when it comes to healthcare. And in changing culture changes behaviors, right? Or disrupting culture influences behaviors, right?
Yes.
So have you seen like some of the work in that direction in healthcare, which has changed behaviors, right?
Well, I think what people forget is that HCPs, healthcare providers, are people too. You know, they're humans and are moved by emotion and moved by powerful messages or meaningful messages or funny messages or heartwarming messages. And I think that's what I've never understood is, oh, we're talking to healthcare providers. We have to speak an entirely different language. Oh, there's too many laws and legalese. And I try to remove that and say, listen, they want to be moved by ideas and propositions as much as anything. So why are we, talking to them like they're robots or they're they're just sitting there with legal pads trying to take shots at it. So I think you're going to see that more and more top creative people are moving into the healthcare side and health and wellness side because one, it's a giant growth area for all of us. Two, you're seeing better and better creative coming out of it. And I think for me, and why I've always been so attracted to it from my time at McCann and certainly now at WPP is, we have a mission at WPP, to use the power of creativity to create a better future for people, the planet, clients, and communities. Well, that's a great mission for every part of our business, but it's even more right for healthcare and health and wellness, using the power of creativity to create a better future. So I think you're going to see more and more talented people move into health and wellness on the client side and on the agency side.
Times I feel if I just change the back shot from one commercial to the other, nothing will change, right? Because essentially all communication is I was not feeling well, I was so ill, I was low. And when I got this medicine, wow, and now I feel top of the world, right? My world got changed.
It's funny how what we're seeing on TV. It's interesting too of like, and this is not necessarily answering your question, but I don't want to forget this point of we got to reach people in new ways. Linear television really focuses around sports, and I think anywhere in the world that is going to be the thing. But how are health brands reaching people in new and modern ways, in a commerce way, in the digital way, in social, like that's going to be more and more. And we talk about things like influencers. And, anytime you bring up influencers, you're really just talking always about young people and like musicians and this, but like healthcare providers, doctors are influencers, and I think you're going to see that more and more. And that's where it's evolving of like people are getting hip to, there's not really great places to go on the web, on the internet, to find medical advice for different reasons.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity. Like you said, a physician is also a consumer, right? I think physician is like a dual personality. He's a consumer and he is a professional. The way he
Yes.
the way he takes decisions is very different, right? But we communicate about him being a professional in a channel where he's a consumer, right? Like a drug commercial on a social channel, right? He does
Yeah.
not talk about a drug commercial maybe on a medical journal. I would like to see it, but not here. When I'm reading my sports news, I don't want to see how I can save a patient and what this drug can do, right? So there's a clear mismatch, right, between
Yeah.
content.
Well, sometimes it's how it's delivered. I mean, I think we're all accepting that different media and brands are going to be in our lives and in the places maybe we don't want them to be. So you really got to work hard. I mean, this is a very old argument. Like, you're an uninvited guest into someone's living room, and how do you become an invited guest or a welcomed guest, or a guest that's the life of the party, or the interesting person at the party, and so I do think that means if we're going to play in the social world and in places where doctors are consumers, we better do it in a way that they want to listen to.
You'll be surprised to see 25% of the overall revenues a pharmaceutical brand spends every year only on marketing. Huge, right? And
Wow.
it's visible in media, right? We see that
Yes.
it's all over
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. It's growing, and I do think it's a great opportunity, but I don't think we can forget that healthcare a basic right of every human on earth, right? And how
But
do we
it
do
might
that?
put
So
some agency job to solve this problem of marketing in healthcare.
yeah, I mean, it's and there's very talented people who care a lot about it, but the system has to be set up. Everybody has to be willing to put it in. There's only so much governments can do. And so when you see brands step up and provide purposeful, marketing solutions or products that really help people, I want more of it. And I've talked about this where there's been a bit of backlash against brands using purpose. And I'm like, there's not enough brands using purpose. Governments don't have the money or the time. Like, any brand who wants to help people, I will support.
Have you seen, like you travel across the globe, have you
Yeah.
seen some countries, so brands doing some good work in some countries than the others, right? Influencing culture to change behaviors.
Yeah, well, listen, I just got back from India, a few months ago,
That
which was
reminds me when you were in India.
amazing time and amazing people. It's such a country, one part drive, one part, creativity, and one part, sort of compassion. And I think that combination is very rare to have. I think one of the few countries that I've seen, that level of drive, talent and compassion.
It's kind of tricky, right? Is about public health, right? So talking about general wellness, well-being, and addressing large public health challenges. Could be cancer, could be diabetes, could be others. And or malnutrition, right? When we talk about underdeveloped countries.
Yeah.
But when it comes to brand communication, right, which is just a brand promotional communication, there the opportunities, or at least what I have seen till now, are very limited. The ideas, the creative ideas are very tactical, finding metaphors to communicate, right? Similar things.
Yeah. So much of those bigger issues, say malnutrition, they are so tied to governments too. And what are we providing? And on occasion, you've seen a brand really connect with the government and together have done amazing things, and yeah, obviously you worked on an immunity charge. I'm sure the audience has heard about that, like the audience has heard about Fearless Scroll, but it's something that our agency did together and you were at the front of it. But I think that was a moment where, it was controlled by the governments. The immunization, the government it needed a creative idea to get that message out. I think any of these big, giant issues and challenges need creativity, right? But you need people on the brand side or on a government side to say, I want creativity to solve my problem. And it gets very tactical and it's hard because you don't always have marketers in those positions that are like you, that come from maybe a medical background but have a nose for creativity. When we had, that's why you were so vital in something like Immunity Charm, because you're talking to governments with the understanding of deep creativity, but the background of deep science and medical. And I think that's why the idea got through, is because we had a real knowledgeable, legitimate medical force pushing a highly creative idea.
And on that point, right, I think everyone understands the gravity of the problem, right? How complex it is. And there are great ideas, right, that come in that space. But then most ideas end up communicating to the patient, right?
Mm.
You would see rarely any idea, any great creative idea that you will remember, which was built to communicate a message to a physician.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to go on about Immunity Charm, but I think that was to physicians to some degree, right? About,
Yeah, again, to
you
some
know,
degree, right? Even look at all the ideas at Cannes, right? In the health and wellness space, or even the pharma alliance at Cannes. Like, it was meant
it
for HCPs.
yeah, it hasn't. I mean, it's an untapped area, as you say. Like, maybe there needs to be a category for can, and I'm not even joking. And we is it like, ideas directed towards healthcare professionals, because it's interesting. It's like can did creative commerce and commerce, and it's amazing how many commerce ideas we have now. Maybe there needs to be a real effort towards healthcare providers, because it is one of those things where if you build it, they will come. Like, so if you create the category, maybe people will start thinking. And to me, you can say, well, that's not a reason to do something. Well, I don't care what the reason is, as long as it gets done.
Think about development of new drugs, right? Clinical trials recruitment is a big challenge on which every pharmaceutical company in the world is wasting billions every year because they're not able to recruit the patients on time. And again, if you see all the messaging there, right,
Yeah.
very, very tactical. If you look
Yeah.
at the way it is communicated to the patient, to the physician, extremely tactical. Like these are, or this is one opportunity. Like look at the market access space, the patient affordability messaging space, right? There is less than 10% utilization. So it's like pharma company wants to give away discounts, cash cards, coupons, but the utilization is not there. So every year, billions of dollars go back to their balance sheet, which they don't like it, right?
Yeah.
These challenges, right, can be addressed with communication because there is enough and more money to solve these problems. But I don't see a lot happening.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes I
the
think
best way to convince people that it's the right tactic is show them examples. So maybe as an industry, not just WPP or not your company, not just, but maybe as industry together, is saying like, here are 10 examples where creativity was used to reach healthcare providers and the results were phenomenal. I think that's because I think the people in those positions sometimes like, well, show me the results. Show me an example of a brand that bet on creativity at a high level and to reach healthcare providers, and the results were off the charts. Like we're always having to prove the value of creativity. It's always being questioned. Yet you hear many CEOs talk about creativity being the most important asset. I still believe that. So, but I do think and maybe we need to band together, because I do think it would benefit all the companies that
time for us
and
to do something together again and solve this.
yeah, and I think that's always what I tell people, and whether I'm being selling to or being sold to, I'm like, well, show the examples.
So one piece of advice for young healthcare marketeers.
One piece of advice. I love this
Young
question.
piece as well.
Try to imagine the idea you're debating, how it will impact people, and if that impact is going to lead to such positive results in their life, it's probably worth it. And try to imagine sometimes who it's going to affect. I watched this thing on 60 Minutes or CBS Sunday Morning the other day, and it was about this secret Santa, this guy who would go around and give $100 bills to people in need. Right? He became famous, and this school of I don't know, 10-year-olds, they saw this and said, we want to do that. And they raised $8,000, right? And they went out and gave money to someone in a Walmart who might look like they needed something. Young kids did the secret Santa thing. And then they interviewed this little girl who did it. And she started crying. She said, it changed my life forever doing this. She's probably 8 or 10 years old. So I do think as a marketer in the health and wellness, like you're in such a position to impact people's lives in such a positive and meaningful way. Sometimes it's life-threatening or just making people feel good about their how they get through life. Things like cancer are so important. Like how do we live with it, like versus it's such a challenging thing that everybody's so afraid of it. But like, man, like what these companies are doing out in the world, is so important. And it's really like, I think we're making so much strides in things like cancer and other things. So I don't know, you've chosen to be in a part of our business that is meant to help people. Don't forget that.
Very, very well said. Thank you. Thank you so much for all your time and sharing your pearls of wisdom.
Of course, I'm a huge fan of yours, and let's stay in touch because you are one of the best out there and one of the best we have. So
thank you.
Good luck to you. Have a great holiday, my friend. As we come towards the end of season 1, I want to thank all of you for your wholehearted support in making this initiative such a huge success. I hope you enjoyed and must have learned a lot from these fun and insightful conversations with our experts from across the country. But the journey does not end here. We invited 8 guests in this season from different parts of the country, from creative, strategy, or business. But now we want to go even wider. We want to go global and make or extract learnings and experiences from those global leaders. So watch out for season 2 coming soon.